You ever just stop and wonder how any of this is even possible? I mean, life, in all its incredible, messy, beautiful complexity, it feels like we're living in a universe that's always, falling apart at the seams. And yet, here we are. So let's get right into it because today we are going to tackle one of the absolute biggest paradoxes in all of science. I mean, just look at this. On the one hand, you've got the universe. You've got places like the Orion Nebula, the sprawling, gorgeous, but fundamentally chaotic storm of gas and dust. And then on the other hand, you have this, the unbelievably precise, information-dense double helix of DNA. You see the problem, right? How do you get profound, intricate order from utter cosmic chaos? How can these two things possibly exist in the same reality? To even begin to answer that, we have to start with the universe's basic operating instructions. And it turns out there's one fundamental rule that really truly governs just about everything.
It's called the second law of thermodynamics. Sounds intimidating, right? But it's actually super simple. It's the universe's one big rule. Things fall apart. They get messy. The fancy science word for this messiness, this randomness, is entropy. And honestly, you already know exactly what this is. Think about your bedroom. It takes work to keep it clean, but it gets messy all on its own, doesn't it? Well, that's the entire universe, just on a cosmic scale, always drifting towards more and more chaos.
And once you see it everywhere. That perfect little sugar crystal just dissolving into a jumble in your coffee, a single tidy drop of ink spreading out until it's just a uniform gray smudge in a glass of water, a hot cup of tea cooling down as its energy just dissipates into the room. It's a one-way street. Order always, always gives way to disorder. It's a relentless, unstoppable march. Or is it? Because then there's life. The one thing in the entire universe that seems to just look that law right in the eye and say, no thank you. See, instead of getting more random, life does the exact opposite. It builds, it organizes, it creates complexity out of simplicity. As this quote puts it so well, it is highly ordered, complex, and immensely rich in information. This isn't just a minor blip on the radar, it's a flagrant rebellion against the universe's main directive. From a single tiny cell to a massive redwood forest, life is just a symphony of organization. And just look at what's happening on the molecular scale. This is a ribosome, and it's building a protein. It's not just smashing bits together randomly, no way. It is meticulously reading a genetic blueprint, that little strand of mRNA, and it's snapping amino acids into place in a perfectly precise sequence. This is not chaos. This is nanotechnology. It's high-tech manufacturing at a scale we can barely comprehend. So this brings us right back to the central mystery. If the whole universe is on a one-way flight to maximum disorder, maximum entropy, how on earth is life even a thing? How can it build these incredible ordered structures and swim against that massive cosmic current? Is life actually breaking the most fundamental law of physics? Well, the answer, which is just so cool, is no. Life doesn't break the law. It's just found a very, very clever loophole. And here's our first clue as to how it pulls it off. Okay, so the key here is realizing that the second law really applies to what we call closed systems. Imagine a perfectly sealed box that nothing can get into or out of. Eventually, everything inside that box is just going to reach a state of boring, uniform, maximum messiness. But a living thing? It's the complete opposite of a sealed box. We are open systems. We are constantly swapping stuff, matter and energy, with the world around us. Think about it. We're always taking things in, food, water, air, sunlight, and we're always putting things out, waste products, and, this is the really important part, heat. As you can see here, life isn't about finding a quiet, stable balance. It's about maintaining a constant, dynamic flow. It's a system that's deliberately kept far, far away from the quiet, messy equilibrium of death. And that leads us to the absolute heart of this solution. Life doesn't get its order for free. It has to pay for it. There is a cosmic thermodynamic debt for all this beautiful complexity, and the universe always collects. Picture a set of cosmic scales. On one side, life is building this incredible, intricate order inside itself. That's a decrease in local entropy. But to balance the scales, it has to tip the other side even harder in the direction of chaos. And how does it do that? By exporting disorder. It pumps out heat. It breaks down complex food into simpler, messier waste. So in the end, the total messiness of the universe, the total entropy, still goes up. The second law is happy, the books are balanced. Okay, so that's the big picture. Life pays for its order by making a bigger mess elsewhere. But how does it actually make that payment, moment to moment? What's the molecular currency it's using?
So let's get into the chemistry just a little bit. In the world of chemical reactions, some are like trying to roll a giant boulder uphill. They take a ton of energy, and they just won't happen on their own. We call those endergonic. Then you've got the exergonic reactions, which are like that same boulder rolling downhill. They happen spontaneously, and they release energy. Life's genius trick is to use the energy from the downhill roll to power the uphill push. It couples them together.
And the molecule that acts as the middleman, the universal energy dollar for basically all life on this planet, is this little powerhouse, adenosine triphosphate. You've probably heard of it as ATP. The best way to think about it is as a tiny rechargeable battery for your cells. It gets charged up by those downhill energy-releasing reactions, and then it goes and spends that energy to make all the tough uphill stuff happen. So how does this little battery actually do its job? Well, ATP doesn't just, explode and spray energy everywhere. It's way more elegant than that. What it does, as you can see here, is it physically snaps off one of its 3 phosphate groups and attaches it to another molecule. This transfer of a phosphate group is like a little jolt of energy. It activates the other molecule, making it unstable and ready to react. It's a direct physical payment of energy that makes an unfavorable reaction happen. So what makes ATP so energetic? Why is snapping off that phosphate so powerful? Well, there are 2 big reasons. First, you've got 3 phosphate groups all with negative charges, and they are crammed right next to each other. They desperately want to push each other away. So it's like a tiny coiled spring, just packed with tension. And second, when you break one big ATP molecule into 2 smaller pieces, ADP and a phosphate, you're actually increasing the local randomness. You're increasing the entropy. So breaking it down is a win-win for the laws of physics. All right, time to put all the pieces together. We know life has to pay for order. We know the currency it uses is ATP. But where does all this ATP come from? What is the engine that's constantly recharging all those little batteries? The engine is called metabolism. And it's not one thing. It's this vast, humming, interconnected network of chemical reactions happening inside every living cell, every second of every day. And its whole job really is to find fuel in the environment, systematically dismantle it, and use the energy release to churn out a constant supply of fresh ATP. Now, metabolism basically has 2 sides of the same coin. First, there's catabolism. That's the breaking down part. It's taking fuel, like the sugar from your lunch, and tearing it apart to release energy. That energy is used to make ATP. Then, that fresh ATP is used to power anabolism, which is the building up part, making new proteins, new DNA, all the complex stuff that life is made of. It's this beautiful, never-ending cycle of breaking down to build up. And here it is, the whole beautiful system in one picture. You see the high-energy fuel coming in at the top. Catabolism breaks it down, capturing a bit of that energy in the form of ATP. That ATP is then spent on anabolism to create local biological order. But look at what's being released at every stage: heat and simple, low-energy waste products. The internal order goes up, but the total universal disorder goes up by even more. The debt is paid in full. I love this analogy. Think of the entire universe as a giant building that naturally gets messier and more cluttered over time. A living organism, like you or me, is like a library inside that building. To keep all the books perfectly organized on the shelves, which is a very low-entropy, highly ordered state, the librarian has to constantly work, constantly spend energy or ATP. And in the process of tidying the shelves, the librarian inevitably creates piles of waste paper, maybe spills some coffee, and generates body heat, all of which makes the rest of the building just a little bit messier. The library stays perfectly neat, but the total mess in the whole building has definitely increased. So, when you get right down to it, life isn't a paradox at all. It's not an exception to the rules of physics. In fact, it might just be the most intricate, the most elegant, the most beautiful example of those rules in action. Life is a temporary, local island of order in a vast cosmic ocean that's flowing towards chaos, an island that is built and maintained by the very energy of that chaotic flow. Which really makes you wonder, what other profound truths about the universe are hiding right inside of us?